Hello, this is Photography Gamer, welcome back to the channel. Today I am reviewing The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. The Witcher 3 is an action role-playing game developed by CD Projekt. The Witcher is based on a series of fantasy novels by Andrzej Sapkowski. The backstory of The Witcher 1 and 2 is a bit complicated, so I'm not going to go into that now, but here is a short version of what The Witcher 3 is about. So, you play as Geralt of Rivia. Geralt is a Witcher, a mutated human who can't have kids, and he roams the lands of the continent taking on Witcher contracts. He kills monsters for money and generally sleeps with any attractive woman he meets. The game starts with Geralt on the trail of Ciri. Ciri is kind of like the chosen one. She has the power to shift the balance of the world to the light or the dark, but she's gone missing, so it's your job to find her. That's where the game starts. After a short flashback where Geralt trains a young Ciri in the art of combat, Geralt wakes up by a campfire with his Witcher comrade. Then you begin a large and expansive journey to find Ciri and stop the Wild Hunt from capturing her. Other key characters in the story are Yennefer of Vengerberg, who's Geralt's main love interest, although he's also having a thing with Triss Merigold and lots of other women. Let's just say Geralt makes the most of life. There is Dandelion the Bard, the dwarven warrior Zoltan, and Geralt's mentor Vesemir. Honestly, the amount of characters in this game is immense, and if I was to list them here it would take me about 4 hours. But those are just some of the main protagonists. One thing to know, I never played The Witcher 1 or 2, so I came into this game with no idea of what happened previously in the story. So, do you need to have played them to enjoy this? No is the simple answer. But bear in mind, the first few hours of this game will be a little bit confusing and bewildering, as it's an in-depth backstory, but give it some time and you will get up to speed. Anyway, so you play as Geralt and it's an open world game of sorts, as in it's several small open worlds spread across a fictional world of the continent. Each region is different and they all feel unique places, with different traditions, architecture and folklore. For me, my favourite was Skellige, which is a series of islands, and it feels very Nordic, Celtic in terms of its style and its kind of historical elements. So the game is a role-playing game with rich conversational interactions and excellent combat. The main story is fantastic and it's a really epic tale. It's very well paced and it features so many rich and detailed characters and quests. The game also has side quests and they are plentiful. It's one of those rare games where the side quests feel as complex and detailed as the main quests. Early on I did a side mission where I had to find some spirit who lived down a well. The whole mission was so well crafted that I thought I was actually doing the main story, but it was just an extra side quest. And that's one of the reasons this game is so special. It's the attention to detail that sets The Witcher 3 apart from its peers. The amount of time and attention to detail that the developers have put in here is truly astounding. The game has so much depth, so much richness, a huge host of lore and historical information, and knowledge spread throughout the game. And you can access this information through conversations, through missions, or just by reading the many different books that you find on your travels. All of these elements help you really immerse into the believable fantasy world, and that's one of the game's strengths. Once you get over the first few hours, you really start to feel totally immersed in the game world. So in terms of story, narrative, and mission structure, it's an incredible game, but the game has a lot more to offer than that. The combat system is complex and in-depth. You have 2 weapons, one regular sword and one silver for the monsters. You can eat and drink to heal yourself during battle or just through day-to-day existing. You have a bountiful amount of potions and magic at your disposal to use in combat or other situations. You have a Witcher sense which allows you to act as a detective and track monsters or people. You also have a horse called Roach. Roach will accompany you throughout the whole journey. The level of depth to The Witcher 3 also applies to the enemies. There are hundreds of monsters and human enemies, and it really is astounding the amount of depth. You have an inventory where you can read up on each particular monster. This may sound like a superfluous bonus, but it's actually essential when you're taking on the Witcher contracts. Witcher contracts are paid quests where townsfolk pay you to kill a dangerous creature. But all these creatures have different traits, so before you take them on you should do your homework. You know, such as finding the right spell to use, the right potion or the right weapon to kill them. You can visit a variety of blacksmiths spread out through the different regions who can craft you many different types of armor or weaponry. You can meditate to quickly pass time if you need to start a mission and you need it to be at daytime or nighttime. There is a fight club in the game in various different regions, and you have to have these epic fist fights with locals and take them all down to become the overall champion, and that, I really thought that was a great little addition, little extra mission there. You can even play a unique card game called Gwent, although I have to admit I have no idea what's going on with that. But I know a lot of people who really get into it. It looks quite detailed and complex, but I never really got into the card game myself. So the variety, detail and volume of things you can do in The Witcher 3 is incredible. There are also 2 DLCs which are fantastic, one of which adds an entire new region to visit, and it's one of the most beautiful places in the game, but it's only to be attempted once you've leveled up because it is very difficult out there. And the DLCs will offer you so much more gameplay, like another 30 to 40 hours probably all in. On the whole, the graphics are very good, however some of the animations are a little bit awkward or clunky, and also there is a little bit of pop-up from time to time, and sometimes objects don't spawn in, but it happened to me maybe 5 or 6 times in 100 hours of gameplay, so it's not very frequent. The environments look gorgeous and it really feels like a medieval European kind of world. But the landscapes, the architecture, the overall aesthetics of the environments, they're beautifully created and it really feels like a lived-in world. The game audio is of a very high standard also. The music in particular is some of the nicest I've ever heard in a game. It's very tribal in parts, very kind of mystical, classical instruments, folk music, medieval music. Beautiful, beautiful stuff. It really adds to the overall atmosphere and the ambience, and it's an amazing, amazing soundtrack. The sound effects are overall pretty good, the voice acting is excellent and there is a huge amount of it. The conversations in the game are really in depth and have branching lines of topics to discuss, and the writing is excellent and also the delivery. The game definitely has a good sense of humour, and at times it doesn't take itself seriously at all, which is kind of a nice twist because most of these games are very straight-faced and serious, so it's kind of will make you laugh at times. The atmospheric ambience is exceptional when you're wandering in the wild or the bustling cities, and you can really hear very small things in the ambient sounds that really make you feel like you're there. So what's good and what's bad? What's good? The game has an incredible story. The game world is rich and detailed and one of the most immersive I've ever experienced. The combat and variation of enemies keeps the game feeling fresh. All the audio is exceptional. The game has a great sense of humour, and the branching storylines and the varied and well thought out side quests make this game have almost endless replay value. What's bad? There are some graphical issues with pop-up and items not spawning in. Also, the game probably could have done with a recap at the beginning, like a 30-minute movie where you could watch it and understand the Witcher story, because if you've never played 1 and 2, you're going to come into this game and like, what the hell's going on? But after 4 or 5 hours, you start to work it out and you start to figure out what's the deal. Okay, so what is the verdict? The Witcher 3 is one of the best role-playing games I've ever played. It has a huge amount of content, so much variety, so much depth. It's really impossible for me to break down in its entirety just how much you get here and how much value for money you get from the game. It's a fantastic story, it's a fantastic game world, the characters are interesting, and it's just one of the best games I've played on the PS4. So my score for The Witcher 3 is 9.5 out of 10. It's a classic game, it's an amazing experience. It's one of those games you just kind of fall in love with because it's got so much in there to get your teeth into, and it's just a brilliant, brilliant game. Okay, that's the review done. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe. This is Photography Gamer signing off. Thank you.